Recently, we looked at the Gremlin tube amp from Apos, and now they're back with the matching DAC designed in partnership with Geshelli Labs. It matches the aesthetic, complements the sound of the Gremlin, adds some I/O flexibility, and they offer a stacker piece so you can mate the two on your desk for a pretty crazy look. Today's video is sponsored by UGREEN and their new Nexode 500-watt desktop charger. This is the world's first 500-watt GaN desktop charger with single-port fast charging up to 240 watts with the PD 3.1 protocol. It can charge a 16-inch MacBook Pro to 60% in just 30 minutes or fully charge it in an hour and a half, so this can meet the needs for both high and low-powered devices with just a single unit. You get support for fast charging up to 6 devices at once, so one Nexode 500-watt charger equals a power strip and multiple chargers and makes for a much cleaner solution. You can even fast charge 5 MacBooks at the same time. There's 6 built-in GaN Infinity chips, 11 levels of safety protection for worry-free operation, and ultra-wide device compatibility with a ton of supported protocols, so you're covered for your laptop, phone, tablet, and all your other devices. To learn more or to grab a Nexode 500-watt charger for yourself with some great discounts, just click the links down in the description, and thanks so much to UGREEN for continuing to support the channel. So this came about because a handful of people that were involved in the early testing of the Gremlin figured out that the warmth of that amp paired really well with their Geshelli DACs that they had on hand. Apos reached out to Geshelli, and the Merlin here is the result. This is currently in pre-order with an introductory price of $195. Afterwards, this will go to a regular price of $225. First batch is only 250 units that's set to ship out in August. We'll get into components, but right off the rip, if you've watched my coverage of the Gremlin amp, you know this is balanced only. That alienates a fair amount of people that don't have access to a balanced DAC or headphone. I was really afraid they were going to treat the DAC the same way. Very happy to report that is not the case. You do have balanced XLR out, but you also have single-ended RCA, so you can feed the Gremlin as well as powered speakers and basically every headphone amp out there too, like the JDS Atom 2 or the shit and niche collab, the Magni Piety. We'll be looking at stacks from both of them separately pretty soon. The outputs here are simultaneous, so if you're playing something, it's coming out both sets of outputs full time. There's no toggle. For inputs, we've got USB-C via an Amonero 768 USB module. I'm told that's very stable and very reliable, but I don't really have a big frame of reference for that. This will go up to 768 kilohertz 32-bit and native DSD 512. This is driver free, it's isolated to reduce noise, and it doesn't draw any power from the host, so there shouldn't be any concern about ground loops here. This is clean even in our warehouse loft with questionable wiring that sometimes can cause issues with some of my gear. While you don't get optical, you do get a coax SPDIF input here. This input supports 24-bit 192 kilohertz PCM. It's low jitter too via the Texas Instruments DIX 9211 chip. More DIX in here equals more power. There's a toggle switch on the front with LED source indicators. Bonus because the orange LEDs match the lighting on the tubes. These switches feel very satisfying too. The DAC chip that handles the show is an AKM AK4493. This is the same chip you'll find on some versions of the Geshelli J2. The discrete analog stage is handled by a TI OPA 1652 op amp, with the goal being to not add any color to the AK4433 in here. This shares the same footprint as the Gremlin, but they don't automatically stack well due to the hardware they use to brace these acrylic plates. So they've released this stacker piece that they're saying is no profit, meaning the $15 you're paying them goes only to cover shipping. To be fair, there's probably some profit since they're using flat rate shipping, but the point is that they're trying to keep it priced as low as they can. It's just a simple frosted acrylic rectangle that allows the Gremlin to sit on top of the Merlin. It creates a pretty sick effect with the green downfiring LEDs found on the Gremlin, but part of me now wishes those LEDs were RGB so we could match this to our setup a little better. Without the light, it still looks pretty class on the desk. It's not 100% solid like pressure fit or anything, so do expect some motion when you're plugging headphones. Apos is currently working with a company called Salad, same company that manued these, to release an open source version on GitHub that'll allow you to 3D print your own in any color you want or even tweak the design. So for sound, I tested a couple different ways. The main thing I wanted to see was, is this DAC natural and transparent, or is this coloring the sound in some way? So I A/B tested with my Matrix Mini I Pro 3 on the Atom 2, the Magni Piety, and the Gremlin. I also A/B tested it single end with the JDS Atom DAC 2. Test headphones today include my personal favorite headphone, the Aria Organic from Hyphaman, plus the Refine, which leans pretty warm, and for IEMs I went with the Kren Meta. All of these can be run either balanced or single end. I'm working off a crazy small sample size right now because I just don't have a lot of DACs in inventory, but in general, the Merlin highs were pretty similar to the Matrix. The mids were a lot airier here, and while there is a lot of low end here, it's not quite as defined and as tight as I heard on the Matrix. Bear in mind, the Matrix is using an ESS DAC chip versus an AKM, and also bear in mind that it originally launched at a price of $899, so take that with a grain of salt. The best way I can say it is that the Merlin is just a little less aggressive. The Gremlin has a tendency to take the edge off the Matrix. The sound of the Merlin feels a lot more complementary to the Gremlin, as it should. That doesn't mean it's only a good fit for the Gremlin though. This pairs extremely well with the JDS Atom 2, much more so than the Magni Piety, which felt very hollow in the mids to me. The Atom was just pure energy all the way through the frequency range. I like the Merlin more than the Atom DAC 2, where the ESS chip there can sometimes have like a plasticky sheen on certain tracks. That's something I do sometimes get on DACs that have ESS chips. All in, I think it does skew a little softer around the edges, but it always seems to sound pretty natural to me. If you ever have mids, particularly vocals on a track that come off a little too hot or too harsh to your ear, you won't have that problem here. That smoothness does benefit the Gremlin, but it never really feels like it's lacking in detail for me. And if you do want a punchier presentation, a nice solid state like that Atom 2 can definitely bring that out. I liked the Merlin Atom stack with the Aria Organic. I liked it a lot with the Meta. I loved it with the Refine. For the Merlin and Gremlin stack, I love it with the Aria, love it with the Meta. It's not my favorite with the Refine. It's a little too warm and a little too soft around the edges for me. Probably be seeing this stack on my desk a lot in the coming weeks. Bonus points because the Atom 2 amp has a 4.4mm out. It's not balanced, so there's no additional power there, but it does mean I don't have to swap cables to use both sources, and that is a huge quality of life W. I understand they were trying to keep costs at a certain level, but one thing I would have really liked to see on the Merlin is a 4.4mm balanced output, since the Gremlin can make use of it. It's not needed, but it would make for a bit cleaner look on the desk using a single short 4.4 cable versus the two XLR cables. And this is a very early pre-release unit, but I do wish there was just a touch more reinforcement here on the RCAs. These can feel pretty iffy, especially if you're using tight cables. And unlike the Gremlin with its inline power supply, the Merlin uses a wall wart style, so you'll need to make sure you've got plenty of room on your power strip. So I definitely feel like Apos and Geshelli accomplished what they set out to do. The Merlin winds up being the perfect companion piece to the Gremlin, with the added bonus that it can also feed a single-ended amp and sound pretty damn good doing it. I'm not prepared to say like it kills everything at its price point for a balanced DAC. There's some stuff out there at a similar price from SMSL that I haven't heard, but I will say that you probably won't find something that's a better audio match for the Gremlin, and you definitely won't find something that's a better fit for it visually. Man, Apos, again, I'm a big fan of what they put together here. That's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one. Stay up. DIX, the Dix 9211 chip, is that correct? What a terrible name for a chip.